listening to the Agent Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Ruppel, and this is our end of the week, just in case you missed it, recap, where we read and digest the headlines so you don't have to. It is a new year with a lot of new goals for me, so that is where we will start our list at number 5. Ruppel recommends. Some of these goals are repeats from last year that I didn't quite follow through on as much as I would have liked. One of those was my reading goal, which really suffered last year in comparison to 2023. But so far, so good. I've got one book down already, Olivetti by Allie Millington. It was actually a Christmas gift from my sister to my daughter, but the cover had a picture of a typewriter with flowers growing out of it, so naturally, I had to pick it up and check it out. Such a good book about a typewriter that decides to throw out the rules and communicate with its human family after the mother goes missing. It's a heartwarming story for any family who's gone through a big life-changing experience, and it is a middle grade read. So no, not super challenging, but a fantastic story. After that, I moved on to my current read that I picked up at the beach last year, Olivia Blake's One for My Enemy. It is a modern-day magical take on Romeo and Juliet set in New York City. I am always up for a modern-day take on Shakespeare's classics. My goal is 25 books in 2025, and yes, I am saying that out loud in the hopes that mentioning it here will keep me accountable in achieving that goal. Over on streaming, since I don't have cable, I was unfamiliar with High Potential, the new drama series starring Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Her new show is set in LA with the premise that Olsen's character has an IQ of 160. After using her high potential intellect to help solve a case, she ends up consulting on more major criminal cases. I have been seeing a lot of ads for this series on Instagram, so now I am intrigued and I'm going to have to catch up on this one. We are still working our way through Person of Interest. We just started season 4, but honestly, there are so many episodes in this series. It's hard to believe that most shows used to have around 25 episodes per season. That just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. No streaming goals for the new year, but I do have a podcast listening goal set. That goal is 25 podcasts in 2025, more specifically to complete 25 podcasts in 2025. I definitely listened to more than that last year, but the completion rate did not quite make the mark. But as far as podcasts go this year, the latest one that I've been binging, Cement City, the story of Donora, Pennsylvania, the Donora Death Fog, Donora, which is located about 3 hours from Harrisburg. I find myself drawn to stories that are set in PA, regardless of what they're about. I think it's fascinating to see what people choose to document from this area, and then also how they choose to represent our state in fiction. And the description of the show says, quote, "It's our town for our time," end quote. I just saw Our Town on Broadway at the beginning of December, so that also piqued my interest. The show has 10 installments, with episodes clocking in between 45 minutes and just over an hour. It is a captivating documentary so far, and we'll be linking to it in the episode notes. Number 2. Today marks the end of the 2025 Consumer Electronics Show, or CES, as it's usually referred to. Last year, CES 2024 was where the Humane AI Pin and the Rabbit R1 were both announced, the latter to a little more fanfare and excitement, and well, we know how both of those turned out. But it is a new year, And that means more new electronic devices, from interesting and innovative to functional and sometimes just downright strange. First off, let's talk Marumi, a fuzzy little robot with eyes and a nose that wraps itself around either your arm or your bag handle, kind of like the fingerling toys that were super popular a couple years back. It's designed to look around and create joy in those it locks eyes with. I thought this little fuzzy robot was super cute. The premise is very innocent, but apparently I was the only one in our office. Everyone else thought it was creepy and would be a great contender for an episode of Black Mirror. So you'll have to check it out for yourself. But crowdfunding for the little Marumi robot begins in fall this year. Then there was the Segway Navimo X3, which takes the concept of a Roomba, applies it to your lawn, and adds some blades so it can mow. And if you're worried about it mowing over a stray squirrel or running into your flower beds, it does apparently use AI to map out its mowing path. I'm not sure if that accounts for ponds, pools, and other backyard water features, but fingers crossed. The newest Segway mower robot is set to launch in spring 2025. And then the last I will mention, I have had my eye on the Meta Ray-Bans for a little while now, but I'm a little more intrigued by the Halliday AI smart glasses that just debuted at CES. They look great. They have similar functionality to the Meta Ray-Bans, but they also include a very small display, a 3.6 millimeter optical module. That translates into about a 3.5-inch display that only the wearer can see. And if that wasn't matrixy enough, everything in the display appears in green. We will be linking to an article with a mock-up of what that looks like in the notes. Use case examples include text messages, teleprompter, music lyrics, and navigation, to name a few. The glasses will eventually retail for just under $500, which honestly is about as much as some designer frames. And the Meta Ray-Bans run between $200 and $400, so again, not that much of a difference in price. According to the Halliday site, the glasses will ship towards the end of March this year. Number 3, before the close of 2024, the Department of Health and Human Services, or HHS, proposed a rule that would update HIPAA protections in the wake of several cybersecurity attacks in the past few years. According to their report, between 2018 and 2023, large cybersecurity breaches increased by 102%, affecting a 1,002% increase to individuals involved. 2023 marked a new record for individuals affected by a large cybersecurity breach, 167 million individuals. With those attacks in mind, HHS proposed changes to the Health and Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. HIPAA was enacted in 1996 and was last updated back in 2013. The rule aims to set an updated cybersecurity standard for health plans, healthcare clearinghouses, most healthcare providers, and their business associates. One of the proposed requirements include, quote, policies and procedures be in writing, reviewed, tested, and updated on a regular basis, end quote. We'll be linking to the release on hhs.gov as well as the proposed rule in the Federal Register. The comment period for the proposed rule ends on March 7th, 2025. Number 2, in May of 2024, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services published a rule changing the meaning of lawfully present, quote, applicable to eligibility for enrollment in a qualified health plan through the health insurance marketplace and a basic health program, end quote. With this change, DACA recipients would now be considered eligible for enrollment as long as they met the other eligibility requirements. The rule was set to go into effect on November 1st, 2024, in time for DACA recipients to apply for coverage during the 2025 ACA enrollment season. Then, in August 2024, a lawsuit filed by 19 states claimed that in changing the meaning of the definition, the rule was a violation of the Administrative Procedure Act. Those states include Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. Fast forward to December 2024, when this case saw a lot of action, starting with North Dakota's federal court blocking the rule's implementation. The injunction was issued on December 9th and would apply to the 19 states that originally brought the lawsuit back in August. About a week later, on December 16th, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit ordered a temporary stay on the injunction issued in North Dakota. That temporarily allowed DACA recipients to be able to enroll in coverage in those 19 states. But that temporary stay was quite temporary. On December 23rd, the stay was lifted by the same court that issued it at the behest of the Department of Justice. So in those 19 states, DACA recipients are currently not eligible to apply for ACA coverage. And despite the back and forth of being able to enroll and then not enroll, as far as the states involved in the lawsuit, 2025 marketplace coverage enrollments made by either DACA recipients or others whom the modified lawfully present definition applied to, their enrollments will be canceled. Insurance companies will refund premiums already paid, and they should receive communication from the marketplace as to why that's happening. 16 of the 19 states involved in the lawsuit operate on the federally facilitated marketplace. Those include Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. And I do want to note that Arkansas is a state-based marketplace federal platform. Idaho, Kentucky, and Virginia are the 3 states involved in the lawsuit with state-based marketplaces. We have the links to learn more in the episode notes. A couple of different communications are linked there, from the original lawsuit and appeals to communication about immigration status and eligibility on Healthcare.Gov. We will be keeping an eye on this legislation throughout the rest of the ACA open enrollment period, and we will be sure to report back with updates. And our top story, coming in at number 1, a look at ACA enrollment numbers so far. On Wednesday this week, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS as we know them, released their second national snapshot on the Marketplace 2025 open enrollment period. While the release came out on Wednesday this week, the numbers reported date back to January 4th, 2025. The Marketplace open enrollment period runs through January 15th in most states. So these are not the final enrollment numbers, but time is winding down for the open enrollment season. Numbers are looking fantastic so far, with current total enrollments reported at over 23.6 million. That number has already surpassed the final 2024 snapshot report numbers that came in at just over 21 million plan selections. Let's break that number down even further. The 23.6 million plan selections can be broken down into 20.4 million returning consumers, and then 3.1 million consumers who are newly enrolled in coverage. Breaking it down by marketplace, Healthcare.Gov has seen a total of over 16.7 million plan selections so far. That total includes 14.3 million returning consumers and 2.3 million new consumers. And then in state-based marketplaces, we have a total of almost 6.9 million plan selections. 6 million of those are consumers returning for coverage, while almost 850,000 consumers have enrolled for the first time. Also, in that report, CMS breaks down enrollment by state, so you can get an idea of where your market stands by looking at that document. We will be linking to it in the episode notes. And also in that report, you'll find the numbers so far on auto re-enrollment selections. Certainly encouraging numbers so far, especially considering that the ACA subsidies put into place by the Inflation Reduction Act are set to expire at the end of this year. It'll be interesting to see where the final enrollment numbers land when all is said and done for Open Enrollment 2025. And that will do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend. Stay healthy and stay safe out there, and we will see you next week. The Agent Survival Guide podcast is a production of Ritter Insurance Marketing, an integrity company. This episode was written and produced by me, Sarah Ruppel, script editing and fact check by Tina Lamoureux, podcast design by Urban Rivera, artwork by Vivian Zhao. Follow along with us wherever you like to listen.